How are you?
Good.
Hello, everyone.
There you
Doing well.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the business meeting of City Council of the City of Binghamton, Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
States of
of the
America,
United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty
with
and
liberty
justice
and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Before we do the roll call, I'll do what I did last night. We'll try to do this for every meeting. Our numbers are growing down here a little bit. So from right to left, as you're looking at us on the screen, we have Councilwoman Aviva Friedman, Councilwoman Sophia Rezanetti, our city clerk, Mr. Lee Rogers, Phil Strawn, and Councilman Joe Burns. So you know who's at the table if you're watching from out there. Mr. Clerk, would you do a roll call for us?
Yes. Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Strawn.
Present.
That's all 7 here.
Thank you. Now I'd like to have the approval of the minutes from the February 9, 22nd business meeting. Councilman Scringy. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Rezanetti.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the February 9th, 2022 business meeting.
Second, Mr. President.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. Our first item on the regular agenda tonight is a public hearing. Mr. Clerk, will you tell us about the public hearing and how people can participate?
Yes. So we have one public hearing tonight. This public hearing is regarding RL 22-18 entitled The Sale and Abandonment of Portions of Griswold Street. In order to participate via Zoom, please click the raised hand button and leave it raised, and we will allow you to speak one by one. And please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton. So right now there are no hands raised, but if you would like to speak during this public hearing for RL 22-18, please click the raise hand button and leave it raised.
We will give it a few more moments, then we will motion to close the public hearing. Okay, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we need to set a public hearing for our next meeting. Mr. Clerk, can you read that into the record?
Yes. So the city of Binghamton will hold a public hearing regarding RL 22-57 entitled an ordinance to modify the 2019 bond for pedestrian safety improvements. This public hearing will take place during the next regular city council business meeting held at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022, virtually via Zoom. And residents wishing to submit comments may do so electronically by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.com or virtually via Zoom during the meeting. For any questions, please contact the city clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to the public comment section of our meeting. I confirmed with the clerk a few minutes ago that he did not receive any electronic communication. So we will open it up for public comment. Mr. Clerk, will you tell everybody how they can participate?
Yes, if you'd like to participate in public comment tonight, please click the raised hand button via Zoom and leave it raised, and we'll allow you to speak one by one. Thank you. Okay, we have one individual who would like to speak, Tina Chronopoulos. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? Wonderful.
Yes.
My name is Tina Chronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue in Sophia Resinitis district. So I guess I would like to talk to you about a bunch of things. One of them is that this morning at 7:36, I checked on the Binghamton City Council website to see if there was going to be an agenda and related documents for tonight's meeting, and there weren't. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a job. I have a full-time job. I actually have a demanding job. So I find it a little bit, I don't know, unprofessional that you don't post items that relate to public meetings with at least 24 hours notice, okay? I sat down this morning at 7:36 to do my own work and to see if I could find time today to check into the documents that you were going to post. So I have been working all day and I haven't really had time to check the materials that you eventually posted, but with less than 24 hours notice. So I would please like to ask whoever's in charge, could you give the public the courtesy of posting materials ahead of time? I don't know how this works for folks who are on council. I'm hoping very much that you get the materials with at least 48 hours, if not more. But the fact that you are not providing at least 24 hours notice for the public seems unprofessional to me. So having said that, since I've only had about 10 to 15 minutes to actually look into the stuff that you've posted, obviously my comments can only be surface since I haven't had time to research this. I would like to point out that I am a little bit miffed that the city is now going to spend almost $12,000 on dealing with issues at the Recreation Park tennis courts, which are being refurbished for $1.3 million, including you using a specious argument to pull money from the CBGB or whatever that money is called funds to fund for this. And the only reason that you're spending this amount of money is because once a year, a pro tournament tennis company, a pro tournament comes to Binghamton for 1 week. So I don't know why you are having to spend another $12,000 on basically what I see to be a money hole. The other thing that I thought I would mention briefly is to do with the golf fund budget. I don't know whether that relates to the golf course that the city owns. I remember last year, there was a meeting at which lots of you, well, not lots of you, but some of you asked lots and lots of detailed questions about the, I think it's the Eli golf course or something, and you couldn't be bothered, or some of you, most of you couldn't be bothered to ask even the most basic questions about the Veolia contract that was coming up. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, y'all are going to spend another $18,000 on promo, like $2,000 on promo and marketing, $16,000 on equipment lease and rental. And at the time, I remember the then assistant to the mayor was talking about how often when you give out contracts to private entities, corporations to manage your stuff, it doesn't actually mean that in the long run you're saving money. So I'm just curious why you're spending $18,000 on this. And then finally, I guess I thought if you haven't seen this, but the news has finally broken that 2 men who are co-owners of the Colonial restaurant have been arrested in connection with the alleged drugging and raping of 2 women last November. Yaron Juan Queller has been charged with 1 count of rape, and
You have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you is charged with 2 counts of criminal possession. I thought I'd point out to you that Yaron Ron Queller is really good buddies with our former mayor. And I would also like to point out that I'm not really sure, but I see that Yaron Queller is being represented by Paul Battisti. And I noticed that the Crime Victims Assistance Center, the chief executive officer is somebody called Christine Battisti. Are they related? Because if they are, then I see a conflict of interest here. I know this hasn't necessarily anything to do with what the city council does, but I just thought I'd point your nose towards this, right? If we have a lawyer representing somebody who's been charged with rape and who also represents police officers, and we have somebody who seems to be related to this person being the chief executive officer of the Crime Victims Assistance Center, then we have a problem in our town. You know it. Thanks for your time. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. As it relates to the agenda and packet, those are posted by the city's IT department, and they even just hired someone full-time who handles the website and social media. And that person just started, but I'll get with them in the morning and make sure that everything was posted accordingly. Again, if anyone would like to participate during public comment, please click the raised hand button via Zoom. Right now, there are no hands raised.
Okay, we will end public comment. If somebody happens to call in the next couple seconds while we're transitioning, we'll let them speak. But for we don't see anybody, we don't see a phone number on there, and there was no email. So we'll continue with our agenda. So we move on to our preferred agenda. Would anybody like to pull anything from the preferred agenda? Okay, Mr. Clerk, can you walk us through the preferred agenda, please?
Yes. Okay. So our first item tonight on the preferred agenda is Introductory Ordinance 22-18, considered in planning. And this is an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of 75 and 77 Griswold Street as public property.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on 22-18, Introductory Ordinance 22-18? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have Introductory Ordinance 22-23, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 Parks budget for travel and training and temporary services.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on Introductory Ordinance 22-23? Okay, please proceed.
Next, we have Introductory Ordinance 22-24, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 general fund to adjust for use of lost revenue funds.
Does anyone have any comments or questions on introductory ordinance 2224? Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strong. I do have a question on this, actually. I was looking at this last night since we had the back-to-back meetings as Monday was President's Day. And I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly because the budget lines as they're listed in this legislation are not exactly the same as they are in the budget book. Because so budget line A9901.59000.F0015, which is on page 110, is not specified as ARPA. It just says interfund transfer. Likewise with budget line A.44089.F0015 is also not designated as ARPA. And I don't know. I just want to make sure I'm understanding. This is taking money from the ARPA pot that's just listed as federal aid other. Does that make sense? I don't know if anyone here is able to answer that question.
But I'm not sure. Does anyone have I don't have a copy of the budget. Does anybody have?
Sure. Roger, go ahead for this.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
if I may, Councilwoman, forgive me, I didn't understand the depth of the question, and just for a point of information, the city comptroller is showing on.
Yeah.
Did you mean, Councilwoman, the budget numbers are not aligning, or the labels for the budget lines are not aligning, or both?
The numbers align, the labels do not. And so again, I apologize. The back-to-back meetings really threw me off. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what, like these budget labels, or no, forgive me, I'm sorry. The second, so bullet points 3 and 4, as far as I'm understanding them, I don't see a matching budget label, whereas budget lines 1 and 2,
I'll
or is,
Yeah.
okay,
Um,
I apologize.
Mr. Shager, Chuck, are you on the line? If you are and you're willing to, we would let you speak if you have anything to add to that.
It says you're muted. If you could unmute.
Lee, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Chuck. Appreciate you jumping on. Thank you.
I'm not 100% sure what Aviva's saying, but if you looked in the 21 budget, that wouldn't have been in the budget book because we added that line in the August or September time period. Okay. Anything that's designated with an F0015 is where we're tracking the ARPA funds for. Okay. So you wouldn't see that in the 21 budget because we didn't have ARPA funds there. I'm not sure whether it's in the 22 budget because I don't think we, unless it was a carryover account, we wouldn't have budgeted for it.
I see. So I'm looking at the 2022 budget where the lines match, but the labels do not match. So I think that
But
was.
do you see an A9901 F0015 in the budget?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and there was, okay, so that is the interfund transfers for ARPA funds is what that is.
Okay, so we're essentially with this, we're essentially renaming the budget line in essence.
Not necessarily, Aviva. Well, what I'm really doing, which, is this for the 400 and some $1,000?
Yes.
Okay, what we did is, when we did the original transaction last year, I was moving money from the ARPA funds into the general fund. Okay? And then I took money and transferred it from the general funds to the refuse fund and to the ramp funds. Okay? And when I did that, we said we were using ARPA funds to do that. And what happened is I'm counting that money twice. I recognized this when I was doing a year-end transaction for the ARPA reporting. So what we really should be doing is really taking it from the general fund to the other two funds.
I see.
That's what this transaction's doing.
Okay, thank you for explaining that to me. The mismatch of the labels threw me. So thank you for helping me understand. All right, that's the end of my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes, Councilman Scourge, go ahead.
so just so everyone understands, what Chuck is talking about is just the double entry bookkeeping because of the reporting requirement, but I'm actually looking at the 2022 annual published budget. And on page 12 of 262, the line A.44089.F0015 that is in the proposed legislation has the same identical label, federal aid other, the line that it's being transferred into. So those lines do match.
Wait, may I ask an additional question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Will this, okay, so in the legislation that we're looking at, 22-24, bullet point 2 has the matching number, but a mismatching label, and bullet point 4 has a mismatching number and a matching label.
So again, Mr. President, so Councilwoman Friedman, that's the double entry bookkeeping that Chuck is talking about, right? So if you look at the budget line numbers on 2 and 4, right, they both identically begin with A.44089. The only differentiator between the two is the budget line number that's on number 2, and there's nothing different. It only adds F0015 at the end. As the comptroller alluded to, that is a budget indicator to just be able to categorize and track where ARPA funding exists. It's an identifier. That's all it is.
Right. No, I understand that. I was confused because the corresponding name of that budget line in the legislation is federal aid ARPA, whereas the corresponding name to that budget line in the budget book is federal aid other. So the one in the legislation that has the F0015 is labeled ARPA, but the one in the budget book that has F0015 is not labeled as such. So that was the source of my confusion.
No, I understand that. And if you look at the next one, for example, 022-25, that RL, you'll actually look at the same budget line with the F0015. It actually is labeled as it is in the budget, federal aid other, identical to the budget line. Again, it's page 12 in the 2022 budget. It's 6 budget lines from the bottom, up from the bottom. So again, that differentiator is just the tracker in the budget for ARPA purposes.
But the account numbers themselves are right.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's.
I'm not
so typically with the journal entries, the count numbers
Right.
themselves are right, then that's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not saying Councilwoman Friedman is wrong. She's not wrong. I'm just explaining the differentiation. That's all it is.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on 2224? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, so our next item on the preferred agenda is introductory ordinance 22-25, considered in finance. This is an ordinance to amend the 2021 general fund to reallocate ARPA funds for police and fire premium pay.
Any questions on introductory ordinance 2225 or comments? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-27, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 general fund to use fund balance for economic development professional services.
Any questions, comments on introductory ordinance 2227? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-28, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 sewer fund to use fund balance to pay for the project analyst and project assistant through March 31st, 2022.
Okay. Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 2228? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-29, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 law and risk management budgets to increase the annual salary of the assistant corp counsel to $60,000.
Okay, any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 2229? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-30, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 mayor budget to increase the annual salary of the assistant to the mayor for youth and neighborhood affairs to $45,329.
Okay, any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-30? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-31, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 general fund to pay for certain expenses at Marabito Stadium.
Okay. Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-31? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-32, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 DPW budget for overtime and electricity.
Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-32? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-33, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 central services budget to reclassify professional services for purchasing.
Okay. Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-33? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-34, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Board budget to transfer funds for chemicals, sludge, and waste hauling and water expenses.
Any questions on or comments on introductory ordinance 22-34? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-35, considered in finance. This is an ordinance to amend the 2021 Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Board budget to transfer funds for gas and diesel and equipment and pump repairs.
Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-35? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-36, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Board budget to adjust the appropriations for BIF legal services.
Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-36? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-12, considered in the MPA committee. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to extend the intermunicipal agreement with Broome County for operation of the First Ward Senior Center Kitchen for the county-sponsored senior citizen meal program.
Okay, any questions or comments on introductory ordinance? Introductory resolution 22-12. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-14 considered in the MPA committee. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to renew agreements with various Broome County departments, outside agencies, and municipalities for the Stop DWI program for 2022.
Okay, any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-14? Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-15 considered in finance. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Pilatus Law Firm for grant consulting services.
Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-15? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-16 considered in finance. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Peter M. Popovic for project management services at Mirabito Stadium.
Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-16? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-17 considered in finance. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Chanis and Anderson Architects PLLC for architectural and engineering services at Mirabito Stadium.
Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-17? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-19 considered in finance. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the New York State DOT for supplemental agreement number 1 for the Main Street corridor study and improvements. And that's PIN 9754.37.
Excuse me, any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-19? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, and the last item on tonight's preferred agenda is introductory resolution 22-20 considered in finance. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement for commissioning with CJ Brown Energy PC at the new fire station.
Okay. Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-20?
Motion to accept the preferred agenda, Mr. President.
So moved.
Okay. We have a roll call, Mr. Clerk, in the preferred agenda.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, thank you for that. We will now proceed to our non-preferred agenda. We have introductory ordinance 22-19 considered in planning. This will be Councilman Scanlon, and I believe we also have seeker motions on this item as well.
All right, I don't have the seeker in front of me. I don't, but I'll try to work through it, I guess.
Do you want?
I can read that on Councilman
If you
Scanlon's
could,
behalf.
please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Scaringi. Go ahead and read the legislation first and then proceed to the seeker.
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of 75 through 77 Griswold Street as public property. I'd like to make a motion to declare City Council's lead agency under seeker.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, I'd like to make a motion to identify the proposed action as unlisted under seeker.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Lastly, I'd like to make a motion to issue a negative declaration under seeker for the following reasons. This is an unused segment of street and no physical changes to the land are proposed at this time. The purchaser owns the adjoining parcel at 75 Griswold Street, tax map 144.76-2-1, and the purchased land will be annexed to said parcel. The purchase will allow the industrial user at 75 Griswold Street to safely maneuver heavy vehicles on site without backing into a public road.
Second.
We have a roll call on this third seeker motion, Mr. Clerk.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, now we need to act on the introductory ordinance itself, 22-19. Councilman Scanlon.
I ask unanimous consideration for introductory ordinance 22-19. An ordinance authorizing the sale of portions of 75 through 77 Griswold Street to Claw Industries LLC.
Second that, Mr. President.
Any questions or comments?
Call the question, Mr. President.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, thank you. We will now move on to introductory ordinance 22-26, considered in finance. Councilman Scaringi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand and ask for unanimous consent on an ordinance to amend the 2021 golf fund budget to transfer funds to pay management, lease payments, and increased marketing expenses.
Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-26?
Full question?
Question's been called. Could we have a roll call vote, Mr. Clerk?
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. We move on to introductory resolution 22-13, considered in finance. Councilman Scaringi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand and ask for unanimous consent for introductory resolution 22-13, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into supplemental amendment number 2 with Barton and LaJudas DPC for additional construction administration and construction observation services at Recreation Park.
Second?
Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-13?
Call the question, Mr. President.
Comment, please.
Go ahead, Councilman Scanlon.
My apologies.
That's all right. The firm I'm associated with is involved in this project at Rec Park. At this time, I'm going to recuse myself from voting on this.
Mr. President, for the reasons stated prior, I'd like to make a motion to allow our colleague, Councilman Tom Scanlon, to be able to abstain from the vote of introductory resolution 22-13.
Second.
Second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
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 Okay, we will excuse Councilman Scanlon from, or yes, Councilman Scanlon from this vote. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon abstains, and President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 6 ayes, 1 abstention, Scanlon.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for working through that relatively quickly. We will now move on to our communications from our council members, and we will start in District 4, Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, President Strawn. I don't really have anything to report this meeting. Thank you. Happy Black History Month.
Thank you. We will move on to District 5, Councilman Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. If anyone is out there listening from the South Side, there is a South Side Neighborhood Assembly meeting going on beginning at 7 p.m. at MacArthur. We're going to be discussing many things. And please come. Get your jackets on and get over there. All right. I'll be there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will move on to District 7 and Councilman Scanlon.
Mr. President, I have no comment tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to District 1, First Ward, Councilman Scringy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank everyone who called in tonight. Just a few things. I really want to thank a number of people. I want to thank Mayor Cram and the mayor's office. I want to thank the DPW, Bernice Griffiths, our superintendent of roads, as well as quite a number of constituents who were very helpful over the last, I'd say, oh my goodness, not even week and a half, I believe. We had a number of potholes that were concentrated in areas in the district off of Main Street. And everything just came together. Constituents were incredibly helpful, going out, following up with emails, offering even precise locations of specific road issues, including my predecessor, Councilman Mossavage. And he actually even sent me something a little before this meeting this evening. And the turnaround time was literally less than 48 hours. So to just see that smoothness on the behalf of our constituents is a really, really big deal. So I just want to really thank everyone and applaud everyone for that. I know we talked about this a little bit in the past, but I'm really excited with legislation that was passed tonight that for all intents and purposes, the Office of Corporation Counsel is now made whole. I think that's a really big deal. Really excited that we have a new Assistant Court Counsel coming in with deep roots in Broome County, which is really great. And know that that new member is going to be a great addition to help move forward a lot of the caseload that often over times overlaps with code and vacant properties and things of that nature. So that's really exciting. I want to thank the mayor and council president, just going in chronological order here with respect to really beginning to kind of lay out a plan with respect to really overhauling our local ordinances as it relates to code enforcement. This body took the first big step last night and really started putting together a list of issues that we're aware of, issues that have come around, issues that constituents have contacted us about, which is a really big deal. And so I did get a chance to speak with Council President today, this afternoon. And so I'll be sending all of my colleagues out a list of the discussion items from last night, and as chair of the MPA committee, how we'll be moving forward to make sure that this body's concerns and our constituents' concerns are met and start moving this forward in the right direction. And lastly, in recognition of an issue that has come up a few times, as well as something that was touched on this evening, Mr. President, if I may, I'd like to make a formal request that on the agenda of the next work session, that there be just 5 minutes allotted so it can be communicated to this body what the actual procedure is to ensure that materials related to public consumption are placed on the website in a timely manner, particularly as it relates to ensuring that we're meeting anything that relates to open meetings law. The reality of it is I think we're in a better place right now. I think the addition of this new person in IT is a good step forward. And I think we also need to be really cognizant of the fact that the city clerk's office is really just an aggregator of information. And that oftentimes more than not doesn't correlate to the posting of information, if that makes sense. And so just so we can kind of get that behind us and know who the people are in the process and what that is, if we could just get information on that, I think that would be incredibly helpful to everyone. So if that could be possible at your decision, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to District 2 and Councilwoman Resnetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not really much to report today. Just we have, I think, a little bit of a snowstorm coming up, but just ask folks to be safe and do your part by following the parking rules to help our folks at DPW and everybody who's trying to keep us safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to District 3 and Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. I would just like to, again, highlight the efforts of our neighbors and friends as they continue to provide us loads of information as it relates to information happening not only within our districts, but in other districts to make sure their needs are heard and ultimately the solutions are found to meet their needs. So continue to email each and every one of us. If you don't know who your council person is, as I did today, I will introduce you to your council person and they will work as hard as possible to assist in not only hearing you, but meeting the need or addressing the need. Again, this is February, this is Black History Month. And thank you, Council Member Friedman, for recognizing that. I'd like to give a shout out to the two organizations that recently held events this weekend. There was the Black Museum hosted by the BSU of Binghamton University on the 18th, which was a large history. It was a Black History Museum with several artists highlighted. And then on Saturday at the American Legion in the 3rd District, was the Black History Expo, and it was amazing. Again, we several members of the community and many of our small businesses. When we talk about economic development, those are the businesses we should support all businesses, but people with new businesses that desire to launch new ideas and creative ideas, we should definitely support. This was a great event. And again, lots of activities within to celebrate all that is being done or has been done in terms of Black history. This Saturday, for those of you that are looking to join another event, we will have the annual American History Through the Eyes of African Americans, hosted by Miss Brenda Brown. Typically, it is at the library. But for safety, again, it will be held via Zoom. The topic of this year's event is living in a post-COVID world, our youth at risk. So it's going to be a great discussion. Again, this is posted on my Facebook page. If you are interested in the Zoom link, please do not hesitate to contact me. It would be great to see my fellow council members in the Zoom room, as well as our constituents. Finally, I'd like to also recognize employees, various members of various departments and unions that reach out to us about their concerns regarding legislation that we receive. It helps us to hear how people within these units that feel as if they're not heard within the units see the legislation from the worker bee lens. And I hate to use that term, but that's the term that was used this afternoon. Continue to reach out to us, continue to share what you need to, and we will continue to investigate so that we adequately vote or create legislation to support the needs of the greater Binghamton population. Again, as Councilmember Resnetti said, we are dealing with changes in the weather. Someone said it's like the lotto. One day it's 50, one day it's 10. And so I want everyone to be safe. Again, they are ticketing It is not up to the city to tell you what date of the week it is. Now, I empathize because I have a young driver who wants to make her own rules, but if you have questions about which side of the street you should park on, do not hesitate to reach out. We can clarify. It is also posted on the website. So if I've received a lot of complaints. I'm not sure if everyone else has regarding the ticketing process, but again, that information is readily available. And if you need it, I can resend it to you. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Riley. Just a couple things real quick, and then we will be done. Last week there was I just want to mention there was a large fire on the south side on Conklin Ave, and we feel horrible for those families. But by all accounts, the neighborhood, the fire department, police department, even the Mirabito station across the street was very, very helpful and accommodating to the residents. They all got out. The Mirabito across the street, let them come in out of the cold, gave them food and drink. And the fire department did heroic actions to try to save the building. They were unable to do so, but fortunately no one was hurt. And so our heart goes out to these families, and we hope that, if there's anything that we can do, I think that they're being helped by the local agencies, but just wanted to say that we're thankful for our fire department, first responders, and for their local neighbors that helped in this situation to make a very, very horrifying situation just a little bit better. And we also received a nice letter today from a local fire department thanking our fire department for assisting them on an issue. So I just think it shows a good professionalism and community spirit from Chief Gardner and our fire department, and I'm sure all of our local responders to neighboring municipalities. So just want to thank them for that. And it was good to see a letter from a local municipality and some good words of encouragement and praise for our local our city employees. We appreciate that. Very quickly to reiterate what Councilman Scringy said a couple of minutes ago. I'm glad we got off the ground last night with our co-discussion. Just want everybody to realize that everything that we did was to try to be inclusive and to get this conversation started. We are always looking to improve. Councilman Scringy and I talked earlier this afternoon, and we already have some ideas to make the process a little bit even streamlined a little bit more. But I think it's a little bit unprecedented, at least for us, of having a committee format and probably in multiple sessions, not just a one-off. So we're going to make a few tweaks to how we did it, the logistics of it, but I think the substance of it was good to get that conversation off the ground. And I look forward to working with all of you and the mayor's office and the city departments as we move forward. And lastly, as Councilwoman Riley alluded to, Monday looked like spring and Friday looks like we're going back to winter. So be accommodating to the crews that are probably going to be out cleaning our streets on Friday, and help your neighbors, shovel sidewalks, do whatever you can to help each other. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Good night, everyone.